Before we get into a formal approach to COVID-19 and getting the employees back to work, we had discussed some of the challenges that at the beginning of the presentation, that you will probably see, whether it's the difficulty of an employee getting back to work. Childcare is a big thing, and uh, having them make sure that they can get childcare back, getting kids back into school. It will take a lot of coordination on their part. Getting employees back to work in phases versus all at once is a good idea, because once you start placing the controls in place and having not the entire staff back, it'll allow you to make these changes along the way, so that you have all the controls in place that are effective. So you want to make sure that you don't bring employees back too soon, and making sure that everything is in place and ready to go. And just remember to keep things in mind that an employer, you are obligated to providing a safe workplace under the Occupational Safety and Health Act. So that's why Atlas Insurance is recommending a formal approach to COVID-19.
So what do we mean by a formalized approach? Really, we would like to see your plan of action on paper, essentially. And so we want is policies and procedures, or guidelines and best practices that your company will adhere to, and then also be able to provide guidelines for your employees as they return to work. Now, here we just want to be able to talk about a back to work plan, which is a little bit different than return to work. I know that that's been used very loosely as we begin to reopen our business, but return to work really is talking about workers' compensation claims, and a back to work is where we're at with the pandemic. So as you see on your screen, it's an action plan that's editable, and it's an example of something that we can provide you as a resource. If you are at the beginning stages or the middle, or maybe even already have one completed, but you may need more information to make it a bit more detailed, we have a library of references available to you that can help complete this formalized approach. In the next few slides, we'll discuss guidelines you can incorporate into your back to work plan. And just as a general overview, it really will not answer all of the questions, and it may not fit your business needs, but our hope is that it will trigger some thoughts or trigger some questions that you can either add to your back to work plan or update your back to work plan. So we really want to make sure that you have a statement of commitment, and this statement really is from leadership, right? This makes sure that everyone from top down is bought in and they understand that your goal is to provide a safe and healthy workplace. Then you want to talk about prevention. So you may already have some of these practices in play, but you will certainly want to make sure that you are addressing specific topics such as social distancing, temperature checks, masks or PPE, and then cleaning and disinfecting. And as you're building your back to work plan, you also want to make sure you address the responsibilities of your employees. I think that's very critical as well. A big topic is sick employees and absenteeism. We know that a lot of our services are interconnected, and so you can't have childcare. It's difficult for you to go to work. If they're not in school, someone has to watch them, and there's no childcare, it's difficult for you to go to work. And so those are some of the topics that should be considered. Within your back to work plan, you could also reference an update or an amended or added policy or procedure. So I know some companies sent their employees home to work, right? So now teleworking is part of their new norm. And so we want to make sure that you address that information or those needs specifically, because there's just a different set of requirements with technology and security and all those types of things. And we'll discuss that a little later. Another policy procedure that you might want to update is your flexible sick leave. And there's a lot of laws mandated now. I know there's a lot of information out there about who qualifies and who doesn't. And so you want to make sure that you certainly address that type of policy. The next section you'd want to add to your guidelines or back to work plan, you definitely want to make sure that you talk about best practices moving forward. Now, we've heard all about some of these, right? Respiratory etiquette, hand hygiene, business travel precautions, and meetings and gatherings. But you want to make sure that these are specific to your business and that you address them here, because this is really what you're going to be asking your employees plan to action, right? This is your saying, this is what we want you to do moving forward until we change otherwise. And the last topic I believe is important is everyone's mental fatigue, stress, or anguish, because everyone handles stress, mental fatigue, and anguish differently. And so if you have employee assistance programs, or if you have a way to communicate with your employees, I think this is a really big topic moving forward as far as safety and risk that most people do not consider, but we think that you should at least keep your options open in discussing this topic.
For those employers out there that are familiar with having a safety program, company statement of commitment is a common thing that you'll see at the beginning of a written safety program. And it's really just the company's commitment to providing a safe working environment for employees. And what we're recommending is having a company statement attached to this policy so that employees can feel comfortable that you as a company are committed to providing a safe working environment according to the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. This is a vital commitment on every employer's part, and you want to make sure that you communicate it effectively to your employees.